everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to talk about the promotional cards that are coming out around the release of BT4 Great Legend, and it can, kind of how it's a bit of a departure of how they've done it for 1.0 and 1.5 in a couple ways, not only with how you get the cards, but also the cards that we're getting in general, and how it's really how I've seen promotional cards handled in Dragon Ball Super, and kind of the pros and cons, in my opinion, on doing that and everything. And it really is just kind of a departure on how these first kind of promotional cards have been released in English. And if you just look at the card pool for these first 24 cards up to this Agumon option card, these aren't really good cards, right? And they're not a lot of them are used. Some of them are expensive for sure, but that's more for collector's purposes. A lot of it, like I'd say, like the most expensive one is Diaboromon, and that's because if it's a tournament promo and it's hard to get, and there's a lot of people are expecting Diaboromon to be good in BT5, like how it has in Japan, and so people are holding on to it, but it hasn't been seen a lot of play right now, right? I'd say like of these cards that we see right here, I'd say Patamon gets probably the most play out of all of them. Ganomon gets some play in security destruction, which isn't seeing a lot of play in general, but it's you have to run it for that, so that's kind of a good card for it. This Agumon gets seen play every once in a while. This V-Tamer gets played in in the not Imperial Dramon, but the V-Dramon deck. In top of that, sometimes it's because it's a blue tamer. Demi Devimon gets some play as well in purple, but that's about it, right? And I guess if you need an extra black blocker, Kurisorumon is good for that too. But none of these cards are great, and definitely none of I'd say any of the tier 1 decks right now run anything. Once again, maybe Patamon, but other than that, no one's really running most of these cards in my experience. And that's totally fine with me, especially because, as you guys know, promotional cards are especially hard to find. Even if we're doing, at like full swing, if we're doing, everyone's doing in-person events and everything else like that, and having what I would say a normal capacity for tournaments, promotional cards can sometimes be hard to come by. And even the harder ones, I feel like right now are alt arts, which is totally fine by me. And I think it helps out that having these really cool promotional cards that are alt arts that don't affect the price of a deck for the lowest common denominator really is good in my opinion. And it's more of just a collector's item that you can keep or you can sell if you don't want it, that kind of thing, and it retains its value. But I feel like for these next couple cards that here we'll look at 1.0. You guys already know this, but real quick, the box topper where alt arts of tamer cards, box promotion where these guys, which once again these guys were never super good. I mean, I think Garurumon I tested out with it a little bit. Agumon's still kind of okay, and once again, if you want to do Vijramon, you kind of need at least the tamer, but these aren't expensive, especially since they did this for both 1.0 and 1.5 for these guys. So there's a lot of these in the market right now. I'm not as worried about it. But there's also the dash packs, which are just alt arts of cards that were already in the set. And I really do love this dash pack, just because Gabumon's super good and Puppetmon's really good, and there's these cards are nice too, and they're good arts. They look really good, and I like them, right? I'm not much of an alt art person, but I ended up getting 4 Gabumon and 4 Puppetmons because I really like what they look like, and I use the cards a lot, right? Which is fine though, right? Because I could spend the extra money to pimp out my deck a little bit. But if someone doesn't have that money, or doesn't, especially right now, because I know a lot of cards are expensive right now, especially for this game. You can just buy a regular art Gabumon or Puppetmon and still be fine. It's just as viable, right? And kind of the same thing for this, the box toppers were security mons, which obviously security decks are getting a little bit better right now, a lot more focus. So these are probably going up in price a little bit, but you can still just run the uncommon ones from the set, and you still be fine. We get one of these, more of these guys to kind of help the market more. There's just a lot of these guys out there. And the dash pack are just all arts from cards inside the set. I would say the 1.0 dash pack is way better. I'd say that these cards are less good uniformly, but there are super cool cards, and Blitz Greymon, you get a really cool looking card for that and everything. But and then also if there's I guess you got an extra dash pack for buying either one of these for this as well. But you also got this memorial pack, which once again they're cool cards, but they're not viable. They're not used very much, and that's fine, right? Sure, if they're hard to get by, and I want to be a collector, that's kind of upsetting. But for people just trying to play the game, having these hard to get cards but they're not good, it's okay. That's okay in my mind. But I don't think that's going to be the same case with BT4. We'll just kind of talk a minute. First, we're just going to talk about Pulsemon. Pulsemon's really good. He's like one of the best cards in the game, even like in Japan right now, in yellow in general. If you're running yellow, you're probably running at least one or 2 or 3 Pulsemons because he's just that good. It just says on play, if you have 3 or more security cards, draw 1. If you have 3 or fewer security cards, gain 1 memory. And it's on a rookie. And like rookies are like one of the biggest staple cards in the game. Being able, like, every deck needs rookies almost. Even like Megazoo like uses rookies. There's just a couple of them, right? Like Vmon, like that's such a good card. Like it's too good to not run it. And even in like Megazoo in that capacity, and Pulsemon, I could see like if you're doing a yellow a yellow Megazoo deck, you're still running Pulsemon because he's just that good. Like being able to draw cards, being able to cycle, being able to do Digivolve on top of your egg or whatever. He's just a super good card for all intents and purposes. And they're giving him away as part of a pre-release event, which means it's going to be super duper hard to get your playset at this guy, and which is kind of unfortunate in my opinion on having such a good card be released. If this was maybe an alt art card instead of Pulsemon, or if Pulsemon was just actually in the set, it'd be different. But this is his only release right now, and to get get 4 of these guys is just incredibly hard because it's only going to be a week. It's going to be at events, which is going to be a little bit harder than I don't know what June's going to look like. That's a month and a half away from now, but chances are things won't be in full swing still, and so being able to have a store to organize or be able to get to these events, I think is going to be kind of tough to do as well. They do also quickly have these great legend pre-release packs, which they do for Dragon Ball Super. They're just stamped versions of cards, and I think that's kind of cool. Like that's like what I'd expect, because if people want to once again foil out their deck or get like stamped version of cards, they can totally do that, and I like that idea for people who care about the collections and stuff. But releasing Pulsemon this way might be kind of tough. And then also the winner foil is this, which luckily it's this, it is an alt art kind of thing. I do really support like the idea of it just being alt arts. So if you want to keep the card, that's good. And if you want to just sell it and just get some prize money for it, you can do that too. But it's just, I don't know. Like once again, I have just a suspicion that Pulsemon is just going to be crazy expensive, just because of his quote unquote short print and just how good he is. And like just looking at like this card, he's better like literally than any other promo that's been printed in my opinion. And once again, it's good because you kind of like rookies, you need so many, right? You just need like a really good foundation of rookies, and everyone needs rookies, right? Like only so many decks need Diaboromon and everything, but everyone needs a good yellow rookie. Like, and so why not just release the best one, right? And it's right there. So that's kind of that kind of feels bad in my mind. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's him. Hopefully he gets another regional release in the future as well. That's not just this. I think he does in Japan, which is why there's two arts of this guy, but I'm not very sure. And then also, so looking just at the rest of the stuff for BT4, so it has 6 alt arts, which are cool. This is fine. I do like the alt art box toppers in that mind, especially like a lot of people like these foils, and Tamers are like one of the best cards to have foil, just because once you play them, they usually stay out on the board for a long time. So I think that's kind of cool. And then also you'll see for their dash pack, there, instead of having alt arts, this time they're 3 brand new cards that are exclusive to buying boxes. And I think 1.5, in my opinion, and you guys can correct me in the comments below, was better than 1.0 when it came to product. I could be wrong. I could just be it could just be my own experience with it. So maybe they're feeling more confident. Maybe they're going to have more supplies. The fact that they had to push it back, the release back a couple weeks, could be good news or bad news for that, or good indication or bad indication based on how pessimistic you are. But my assumption is that they're printing enough of this guy and that they're confident enough to release new cards as dash pack cards, right? Because once these dash packs are done, these cards are, until like they have like a reprint of something, you can't get these guys anymore, right? Which is okay for alt art cards, right? But for cards that you might need for an archetype, that can be a little bit more problematic in my opinion. And I've seen that with Dragon Ball Super too. I can remember specifically that there were some cards that were essentially needed for an archetype that was tier 1 at the time. It was for people who watched Dragon Ball Super 2, it was the green Kaba True Drop, and there's also you needed 4 of them, and so you had to get 4 of these dash packs, and you got like to like 50-60 bucks at a time, which was just crazy expensive for this guy. Eventually the deck got nerfed, and he's like now a quarter or whatever, but I could see like the same thing too with these guys. I would say these guys aren't as necessary as that. I don't think it's going to be that crazy. But if the shortage of product has been kind of as much as it has been for the last 2 sets, I could see these guys being kind of expensive, for better or for worse, to kind of get these guys. And looking at the cards themselves, I'd say they're pretty okay. They're all around like Digiburst, which is a new mechanic coming out in BT4. And I don't think, like, I would say that Grand Kuwagamon and Black War Greymon, both these aren't like decks you build around. They're both just kind of like cool cards that help you out, and if you want to run these cards, you can. Like Digiburst for 2, one of your Digimon gains security attack +1, which is kind of nice. So like this could be like you can make something have more security checks than your opponent's expecting. You can kind of steal a game with that. Similar thing with the Black War Greymon. For Digiburst 2, unsuspend this Digimon. So both these guys, if you went fully up the chain, can do 2 of their ability. So being able to play this guy for 3 and then have 2 more swings than your opponent was expecting could just win you the game on the spot too. Just because like Digimon is just like, if you can sneak out more security damage or more swings than your opponent expects you to, then you can kind of win on the spot. And both those cards kind of have that idea in my mind. And then also Medical Rumon, I'd say this was the one that if I'm not sure if the deck's going to be good or not, but I could see like this card being expensive because it could be the backbone for a deck. For Digiburst for 2, play a purple option card that has a 7 cost or below from your hand without paying its memory cost. That is a good enough effect in my mind that people will build a deck around it. And so having a card like this that's so essential to an archetype or something like that, just be stuck behind a dash pack promo. Could just mean that this card could be really hard to get for people who want to run that. If the deck's good, it's just going to be worse, and it's just going to be really expensive. So that's kind of what I've seen with Dragon Ball Super a lot of the time, where they kind of release these cards and they're essential to archetypes. And I think that's going to be especially true for the other promos. So we get these, and then there's also this Great Legend Power Up pack that we get. So we buy a box, you get your Great Legend Power Up pack as a bonus. These packs include special promos from first anniversary commemoration promo packs at the Japanese release, which I believe, you guys can correct me, these cards didn't come out before BT5, or came out when BT5 was out in Japan. So these cards were not out during the BT4 meta. These cards were out in Japan for the BT5 meta. And so these cards are new cards just for us, for our own meta, which is kind of cool to have this like kind of unique stuff for it. And you also get 2 cards per pack. I'm not sure if they're mapped that, you get the red and blue every time and the yellow and green. It's probably going to be shuffled up. But I will say with these cards, and it's something that I really dislike about the promos from the Dragon Ball Super card game, is that these cards are promo cards that just help a specific archetype generically, right? They just, if you don't run this card in the archetype you're playing with, it's probably just straight up worse, which is kind of sucks that you want to play this archetype, you get the set, and you can't play an archetype at its full strength without having this very specific card, and then also outside of that archetype, the card's not very good, right? So like saying generically, if this Gatomon is good in like a purple yellow Massamon deck, this could be like a $30 card that, if you want to place it, like let's say you spend $100 for a playset of this guy, that's fine, I guess. But then outside of that, like, there's no use. Like, Pulsemon being expensive, yeah, it's going to suck. But that a playset of this guy, you're going to jam into every yellow deck you run until something happens to it, right? So that's okay-ish, right? So you get like a big return on your cards. But like this Gatomon, like, same thing. Like, you need to run this in purple yellow Massamon, in my opinion, to some extent, or even I would say at a higher probability. This Aguinimon or this what is it, Lobomon. You kind of, if you're running ancient Garurumon or ancient what is it, Ancient Greymon, you have to run these guys. In my opinion, like you have to run these guys. They're super good for the archetype. You're running a worse version of the deck without these guys. And to be honest, I don't know how good these guys are going to be. Like how good the Ancient archetype's going to be. But if the deck's good, these guys are going to be insanely priced, and they're not going to be good outside of the archetype. And that's just kind of what feels bad. Like why? I mean, there's kind of a difference between like using promotional cards to like support an old archetype versus having promotional cards that should just be inside the set themselves. And I think some of these cards should definitely do that. I mean, these Ancient guys, I think it's that, but I think it's also because of just when these guys were released, it was like a promo to power up old archetypes in Japan. But for us, we're getting these cards and they're powering up current archetypes. And it's gonna be I just worry that these cards are just gonna be really hard to get. They're gonna be meta relevant, and it just sucks that they're gonna be these meta relevant promos that are only good for one deck archetype. And that so if you want to play that archetype, you gotta drop a lot of money, and then outside the archetype, they're not very flexible, right? I mean, I think once again, Pulsemon, I think I'm more like, even though it's going to be harder to get because it's a pre-release promo. Once you get your set, you're going to be fine. It's going to be good in a lot of yellow decks, so it's kind of worth the hustle and bustle for it. But these other guys, I'd say, are a little bit. It just feels worse because you have to spend a lot of money for something that might be good, I guess. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I haven't really dived into the Ancient stuff. I'd also say, so Gatomon I think was good for Mastamon. Devimon, this kind of just builds an archetype in the same way that so on deletion, if your trash has 7 or more Digimon cards with Devimon its name, play a done Devimon from your trash without paying its memory cost, which is, let me look. Ooh, get out of there. Done Devimon, which is this guy. So opponent's turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, trash top card of your opponent's security stack, and then on deletion, your opponent trashes 2 cards from their hand. So like this is kind of cute. I don't think this guy is super good. I mean, being able to play a level 6 for quote unquote free is kind of good, and I could see you playing a deck, but I don't think this is going to be like a meta relevant deck in that case. And then also, if we look at the rest of the promos, we have Sunazerimon. If all your black Digimon have 13k power or more, gain piercing. And then your turn when this Digimon is black and has 13k DP or more, gain security attack +1. So that's kind of nice. It doesn't give security attack +1 to like Ragnar Lordramon, but like it doesn't help any level 7s, but it can help some level 6s and stuff. So this guy's okay, I guess. You kind of still have to build around it, I guess. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's super good, to be honest. I mean, Black's not super good right now, and I haven't seen it be super great until BT5 anyways. But maybe there's some decks you can build around there. But I don't see this being like an expensive card. And then Palmon, I think Palmon can be a pretty good rookie for green, though. In general, like just rookies are probably like the best cards in general, just because they're so splashable and in so many ways. Like most decks need rookies, and so to have like a promotional card be a rookie, that's just generically really good. Just means that it's a good promo card, but if it's hard to get, then it's just going to be really, really expensive. But your turn when the Digimon triggers Digiburst and trashes this card, one of your Digimons gains jamming. So for the turn, which immediately has some synergy with this guy we talked about earlier, where Digiburst for 2, one of your Digimon gains security attack +1, so you can give this jamming and security attack +1 for essentially no energy because of how that works. So that can be kind of nice. I can see that being a cute combo. I know green is probably one of the better archetypes with Digiburst right now, just especially since they like go up their chain very easily based on what I've seen. But anyways, this has been a long rant about all of this, and I guess I hope you guys got something from it and kind of my opinions. I hope, and at the end of the day, I hope that these cards are either the hard to get cards or either trash, or in the very least that these cards aren't going to be as hard to get and as expensive as I've kind of seen like other promo cards. Like the promo cards for these Prass cards have been kind of high in my opinion for the power level that they are, and but it's just because they've been so rare. And I feel like, in general, the cards that we're getting for promotion cards right now are higher power level than what we've seen. And if they're just as hard, it's just going to be very expensive to get them. Especially Pulsemon. I'll say it one more time. This guy's going to be really expensive, and I'm going to be very upset about getting my play set of him. But we'll figure out what that looks like, I guess, in June. But that's going to be my rant. Thank you guys so much for listening to the end. Really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know your opinions about it, and I'll catch you all next time.